counselors, people who work in our special education classrooms.
CTU says it has started a 30-day clock for a potential work stoppage. President Jesse Sharkey says the deal does not include many of the union's demands. A search is underway to find a man suspected of sexually assaulting 4 people at gunpoint this summer on Chicago's South Side. Those 4 incidents were reported between July 12th and last Friday. A group of community activists not pleased with Mayor Lori Lightfoot's overall performance during her first 100 days in office. Speaking at City Hall yesterday, the group gave her a D for failing to enact key parts of the progressive agenda she campaigned on. Cubs and Mets on the docket tonight. White Sox hosting the Twins with Lucas Giolito on the hill. The news, a service of T-Mobile, with data and texting included in over 200 countries and destinations. T-Mobile for Business keeps you connected at the corner coffee shop or cafe halfway around the world. Business is changing. Are you with them? Visit T-Mobile.com/business. 7:03, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Don't miss Freedom Summit 2019. Coming to the Chicago West and Northwest in Itasca on Saturday, November 2nd. This year featuring headline speakers Michelle Malkin, Sean Hannity, Sebastian Gorka, and Laura Logan. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Automated Systems Incorporated, HealthInsuranceMentors.com, Cromweedy Roofing, and by Joe Cotton Ford in Carroll Stream.
All money managers might seem the same, but while some give their clients cookie-cutter portfolios, Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to your goals and needs. Some only call when they have something to sell. Fisher calls regularly, so you stay informed. And while some advisors are happy to earn commissions whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers. So if you're in or nearing retirement, talk with us and find out why investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
I've been thinking lately, life is good. My husband has a great job, and so do I. The kids are on track for college. I love our house. But what if something happens to one of us? The kids' college tuition would go away. The house would go away. Everything we've worked for just goes away. How would we pick up the pieces? We don't have life insurance. Can we even afford it? We can't just go on ignoring it.
Protect your family's future with help from Ethos Life Insurance. Ethos is life insurance built with you in mind. Straightforward, super fast, and affordable. The online application takes just minutes. There are no commissioned agents, and you'll get an instant estimate based on options that are right for you and your family. Ethos is the hassle-free way to get covered. It only takes a few minutes, so don't put it off. Ethos is dedicated to finding you the right coverage fast.
Thank goodness we did something about it. Who knows what happens tomorrow? Now I know we're covered, and I'm so relieved.
Go to ethoslife.com for a free instant estimate now. That's ethoslife.com. ethoslife.com.
No one wants to wake up to the news that they're the victim of identity theft or that malware is compromising their smartphone. That's why LifeLock with Norton now includes protection for your identity and devices. Join at lifelock.com and use promo code RISK to get 10% off your first year.
7:06 AM 560 Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Traffic is getting heavier with more and more kids back to school. The Edens is 28 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose, outbound 35. Kennedy, 33 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 20 from Montrose, 18 in the Express. Outbound 30 minutes for the airport. Eisenhower looking at 49 minutes, 390 to downtown, 35 from Manheim. Outbound 35 minutes to 390. Stevenson, 56 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. It's 41 from the Tri-State. The Ryan, 29 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 19 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop 425. Eastbound Reagan Tollway, it's tight 22nd at Roosevelt. And the northbound Veterans Memorial has delays. 75th to the Reagan Tollway, Roosevelt to St. Charles, and Army Trail to Lake. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center and our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, sunshine, a few clouds, breezy. The high today near 80. It'll be mainly clear tonight, low 59. Partly sunny, nice breeze tomorrow, the high 75. And then sunny and pleasant, a breezy afternoon Thursday, high 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
65 at O'Hare. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Make sure to check out the Income Store live video stream of today's show right now at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're coming to you live from St. Mary's Retirement Home in Lincoln Park. St. Mary's Retirement Home run by Little Sisters of the Poor. They fought the Obama administration and won. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't fight the law and win.
And win, yes.
Yeah,
have you picked out your room yet? And which wing of St. Mary's you're going to be staying in?
Yeah, this is a nice place to spend your golden years.
People,
if it weren't in Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
But anyway, we'll talk a little presidential politics here. By the way, just as an aside, if you have a business owner that slighted you and you really want to get back at them, all you have to do is
say you're a Trump supporter?
Is define them as a Trump supporter. Tweet out that they're a Trump supporter, and if you really want to get people whipped up into a frenzy over them, tweet out that they're a Trump donor. Just ask the Olive Garden.
Yeah, what did they do? Who took it to them and stuck it to them?
This is all it takes. Somebody randomly tweets out the Olive Garden is donating money to President Trump, and then the Olive Garden got so much blowback, I assume locations throughout the Fruited Plains, that they had to issue a Twitter denial that no, we do not support President Trump or any political candidate. Restaurants are not making political donations. Of course they're not. By the way, you can't make corporate donations. So it would have to be like Olive Garden employees organizing themselves to make individual contributions, and there's no evidence of that. But it was a tweet.
The CEO even said, I didn't donate any money.
It was a tweet, though. It was a tweet. Campaign. So let's,
it must be true.
Unleash the mob. And then Olive Garden quelled everybody with free breadsticks. So it's fine. But this is sort of the culture, though.
No,
tweet
that's right.
something, unleash the mob, ready, shoot, aim. And that's where we're at. So this is going to be a doozy of a presidential race once the socialists figure out who they're going to nominate. Speaking of socialists, President Trump was with a bunch of them over the weekend in France. And at the debrief with Macron, he had this to say about that Sunday night call he apparently got from the Chinese saying they want to come back to the table and work on a trade deal. President Trump saying, yeah, he could be wrong, but he thinks they're serious about wanting a deal.
This guy is the most biased reporter, NBC.
No, that's not the right Trump. Do we have Trump on trade?
Trump on trade. Let's see if I have Trump on trade. Yes.
I believe they want to do a deal. The tariffs have hit them very hard in a fairly short period of time.
Yeah, he's basically said that not only do they want to do a deal, they have to do a deal. China's lost 3 million jobs. And it calls to mind something that actually George W. Bush said that I always remember when he spoke at Judson University out here in Elgin. And he said, you know, I'm always asked the question, what keeps you up at night? And so I asked President Xi that question when I was president, and he said 25 million jobs a year. And the way that President George W. took that is what he meant was I have to create 25 million jobs a year to prevent instability in my country, to prevent the prospect of a popular revolt against
communism.
The Politburo there, right. And so, you know, maybe Trump is onto something. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe it's some combination of the two. But the problem the left has is where's the daylight between themselves and Trump when it comes to tax increases, which is what tariffs are. Even Comrade Bernie said, oh, sure, I use tariffs, just not in the way he's using it. Oh, it's irresponsible to tweet about tariffs, but not irresponsible to impose them. I mean, you're talking to a bunch of people that running for the nomination for the Democrats.
that are similarly situated when it comes to playing the game of protecting American industry and otherwise indulging rent-seeking behavior.
They just want to give everything away from free, eliminate student debt, free
well,
health care for everyone.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, on the China matter, I mean, their criticism is stylistic, it's not substantive. So how much real political capital is there to be gained for them? I don't think very much. But for more on the topic and the state of play in the presidential race, we're pleased to be joined by David Drucker, who's a senior political correspondent for the Washington Examiner. And congratulations, I read that piece in Axios about the Washington Examiner being one of the outlets that's gained significant traction and readership during the Trump eras, which runs a little bit counter to the normal notion that the left gains when there's a conservative in office and the right gains when there's a liberal in office and so forth, David.
Thank you very much. We're pleased with that internally.
Yeah. So on the issue of China and a trade deal, other than this inducing a recession, is there and in the age of negative partisanship, is there a real political cost that Trump is in danger of paying if a deal with China doesn't get done?
Well, I think the danger of a trade dispute with China getting out of control and contributing to a downturn in the economy is a very serious threat for Trump. I think it would be serious for any president, but particularly for him because his approval numbers are always middling, and the only area where he gets positive job marks that exceed his overall job approval is on the economy. And so I think for him in particular, it would be problematic. Now, I've always said that confronting China on trade and defense matters and a whole host of issues is good policy and could be very good politics. I think there's a lot of sympathy across the political spectrum for confronting China. Democrats for years have been calling for more aggressive action to confront China economically. Republicans for years wanted it more from a national security perspective and our influence in the Pacific as China becomes a rising power, which they are. I think the issue is how you go about it. I think the assumption that China is going to fold because we're still the world's #1 economy, because the jobs issue for them and the economic issue for them is so paramount that they can't afford to go toe-to-toe with us, I think it's a little bit misguided because China has grander designs than simply building and growing an economy, and obviously they have issues about keeping everybody happy. Number one, they don't have elections. Number two, they want to supplant the United States as the world's preeminent superpower. They don't just want to kick us out of the Pacific, which is one of their sub-goals. They want to get rid of the U.S.-led liberal world order, and they want it to be in charge. And so they are playing a very long game. And in the Chinese culture, and this plays into the fact that they don't have elections, the idea of saving face is a very big deal. So if the president's goal is to make the Chinese cry uncle, I think he's going to make it harder for himself to emerge from this dispute with a deal in which he can say, I just made things better for the United States, both from a national security perspective, from an economic perspective, from a trade perspective. And so I just think that this is going to be very difficult. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. I'm not saying it's not doable. I do think it would be easier if he didn't insist on fighting multiple trade disputes at once and united Europe behind the United States, for instance, united Canada, Europe behind the United States, Mexico, and they all went into this together.
How do you think civil unrest in Hong Kong is going to affect any of the talks with China?
Well, it's unclear because the president he just doesn't seem to prioritize these sort of democratic human rights issues the way most presidents have, at least rhetorically. Most presidents, Democrat or Republican, would at least pay lip service to the idea that we expect our trading partners, people we do business with, to treat their citizens and territories with some modicum of human rights concern and employ some sort of democratic value in how they do that. The president, it's just never been high on his agenda. So he could use it as a leverage point with the Chinese, which would be good for Hong Kong and good for the United States, but it may not be something he cares about. And, he kind of goes back and forth, right? I mean, he refers to autocratic leaders as nice people who are great leaders. And it's just not something, again, that most presidents do. You know, they obviously will cultivate personal relationships, and they will talk about shared values and shared goals and how everybody's going to win if they, you know, agree to this or that. But the president, more than others, you know, will look at a guy like Kim Jong-un, who is who he is, a murderer and a thug, and say nice things about them personally. I think that's how the president believes he's going to achieve diplomatic breakthroughs. So we'll see if all of this works.
So the conventional wisdom on Joe Biden, who was in New Hampshire this week enjoying Vermont, which is difficult to do, is that, look, he's the front runner, and until somebody can demonstrate they can attract a significant percentage of the black vote, he is going to remain the front runner, even if one poll has him in a dead heat with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. But if it were Bernie or Warren to win both in Iowa and New Hampshire and to start really getting momentum behind them, then couldn't that black support that Biden enjoyed